My family demanded my $12K savings for my golden child sister. I exposed them on Facebook and uncovered a lie that destroyed my parents and left them with nothing. I'm 18 years old, just graduated high school a few months ago, and honestly, I need to get this off my chest because I still can't believe how all of this ended up. I've been working since I was 16, you know, at an auto parts store first and then at a restaurant on weekends, and basically every cent I earned, I saved for college because my parents always made it clear they weren't going to pay for my education. My sister, Rachel, who's 22, went off to college 4 years ago, and they paid for everything. Absolutely everything. But with me, the story was different from the start. I guess I should start by explaining a bit of the family context so this makes sense. My dad, Thomas, was always one of those people who needs to keep up appearances. You know what I mean? We had a nice house in a neighborhood where everyone knows each other. He worked at a big company and made good money. And my mom, Jennifer, was a stay-at-home mom. Rachel was the perfect daughter. Like, she got good grades, was popular, all that. And I was the younger brother who basically existed in the background. Don't get me wrong, it's not like my parents were horrible to me or anything, but the difference in how they treated Rachel versus how they treated me was pretty obvious. When she asked for a car for her 16th birthday, she got it. When I turned 16 and asked if I could use the family car to go to work, my dad told me it would be good for me to learn to take the bus because that would make me more responsible. Things like that, you know. The truth is, Rachel and I were never close. She was 4 years older and basically ignored me most of the time, except when she was in a bad mood and needed to take it out on someone. I remember one day in middle school when she invited her friends over to the house, and I came downstairs to the kitchen to get something to eat. And she literally told me in front of everyone that I was a loser and to get lost. My parents were there and didn't say anything. They just laughed like it was a joke. So, yeah, let's just say we didn't have the best relationship in the world. When she left for college, honestly, it was a relief not to have her in the house all the time. Things started getting weird like 2 years ago, when my dad decided he didn't want to work for someone else anymore and that he was going to start his own business. He quit his job, invested his savings, and convinced his older brother, my uncle Gregory, to invest too. The business was something related to technology and digital marketing. I didn't really understand the details because my dad never talked about it with me. At first it seemed like things were going well, but then COVID hit and basically everything went to hell. The business started losing money, clients disappeared, and suddenly my parents were fighting about money all the time. My mom had to get a part-time job at a department store, which she hated because, the image and all that. My dad became super irritable and stressed, and the tension in the house was horrible. Meanwhile, I kept working and saving. By the time I graduated high school, I had like $12,000 saved, which isn't a fortune, but it was enough to cover my first year at a state university if I got some scholarships, which thankfully I did. I was proud of myself, honestly. I had worked hard and accomplished something my parents said I had to do on my own. Rachel had graduated from college that same year and got a job in another city, like 3 hours away, and moved to an apartment there. My parents helped her with the deposit and furniture, obviously. So we get to July of this year, like 2 months after my graduation. I was planning to start college in August. I had everything ready, my tuition paid, my books bought. I had even found a roommate through a Facebook group for the university. I was excited, nervous, all those things you feel when you're about to start a new chapter. And one night, my parents called me into the living room and told me they needed to talk to me about something important. My dad had that serious expression he got when something bad was happening, and my mom looked uncomfortable but determined. They sat down across from me and my dad basically got straight to the point. He told me that Rachel was having trouble paying her rent, that the job wasn't paying her enough, and that she needed urgent help because if she didn't pay in the next few days they were going to evict her. He told me that they didn't have the money to help her because the business was still in the red and they could barely cover their own expenses. And then, and this is what still makes me angry, he told me that since I had savings and Rachel was my sister, the right thing would be for me to give her the money she needed for rent. I sat there, trying to process what I had just heard. I asked him how much she needed and my dad said like $2,500. I was like, "Dad, that's the money for my college. I've been saving for this, for 2 years. And he interrupted me and said that family is more important than college, that I could always defer a semester and save more, but that Rachel needed the money now. My mom added that I was young and had plenty of time to go to college, but that my sister was in a desperate situation and needed my support. The argument got more and more intense. I told them no, that I was really sorry for Rachel, but that money was mine and I had earned it specifically for my education. My dad got angry and started with the speech about how I lived under his roof, that they had given me everything for 18 years, that I was selfish and ungrateful. My mom started crying, saying she never thought she'd raise such an insensitive son, and that Rachel had always been the good child of the two. I told them that maybe if they hadn't spent all their money on my dad's failed business, they would have funds to help Rachel, which I probably shouldn't have said because my dad exploded. He stood up, ate, also, literally yelled in my face, and told me I had two options: give Rachel the money or find another place to live because he wasn't going to support someone so selfish in his house. I thought he was bluffing, just trying to scare me into giving in, so I told him, okay, I'd find another place. My mom looked at me like I had betrayed her, and my dad said, perfect. You have until tomorrow to get all your stuff out of here. And just like that, the conversation ended. They went to their room, and I stayed in the living room trying to understand what the hell had just happened. And the next day, and when I say it was literal, I packed all my stuff into 2 big suitcases and some boxes. I called my Uncle Gregory, explained the situation without going into too much detail. I just told him I'd had a problem with my parents and needed a temporary place to stay. My uncle is my dad's older brother, and he was always cool with me. Like the cool uncle who took you bowling and gave you money on your birthday, he told me, of course, that I could stay at his house as long as I needed. He lives like 30 minutes from my parents' house with his wife, Margaret, who's also amazing. They don't have kids of their own, so they always treated Rachel and me like we were their children, more or less. When I got to their house with all my stuff, my aunt hugged me and told me not to worry, that everything would be okay. They set me up in the guest room, and that night my uncle asked me what had really happened. I told him the whole story, about my parents' demand, about the money, about how they kicked me out when I refused. My uncle looked upset but didn't say much, just told me I did the right thing, refusing, and that my parents were wrong. My aunt made my favorite dinner, and basically they spoiled me all weekend, which honestly I needed because I felt like garbage. But here's where things got really crazy. I was angry, humiliated, and I felt like I needed people to know what my parents had done to me. So like 3 days after moving in with my aunt and uncle, I did something I probably shouldn't have done, but at the time seemed justified to me. I wrote a super long post on Facebook telling the whole story. I explained how I had saved for college, how my parents demanded I give my money to Rachel, how they kicked me out when I refused. Everything. I also mentioned how they had paid for everything for Rachel for years but never offered me help, and how my dad's failed business had put us in this situation. I didn't use insults or anything. I just told the facts as they happened, but obviously it was clear I was angry. The post exploded, like over 200 comments in the first few hours. Most people were on my side, saying my parents were crazy, that I had done the right thing, refusing, that it was horrible they kicked me out. Some relatives commented saying they didn't know things were that bad. Others shared the post. My dad has a Facebook profile where he always posts about the business and tries to maintain this image of a successful entrepreneur, so this basically destroyed that facade. People started commenting on his posts, asking him why he had kicked out his son. Some potential clients wrote to him saying they didn't want to do business with someone like that. About 6 hours after posting, my dad called me. He was furious, literally screaming on the phone, calling me a son of a bitch, that I had humiliated the family in front of everyone, that I was going to ruin his business and his reputation. My mom was screaming in the background too, saying to delete the post immediately. I told them I had only told the truth, and that if that ruined their reputation, maybe they should think about how they treated me. My dad told me I was dead to them, to never want to talk to them or see them again, and hung up. My mom sent me like 50 text messages saying I was a monster, that Rachel was devastated, that the whole family was judging us. Over the next few days, I got messages from all over. Some relatives supported me. Others said I should have handled this privately, that airing dirty laundry in public was in poor taste. My paternal aunt, my dad's sister, wrote to me saying that although she understood my frustration, I had crossed a line by exposing my parents like that. My paternal grandparents, who live in another state, called me saying they were disappointed in me and that I should apologize. It was a total mess. I basically divided the family into two camps, and then I started feeling guilty, you know? Because yeah, my parents treated me badly, but maybe exposing them publicly wasn't the best revenge. I started thinking that maybe I went too far, that I should have handled this more maturely. After like a week, I deleted the post. By that time, everyone had seen it anyway, but I thought at least removing the evidence would help calm things down. It didn't help much, honestly. My parents still weren't talking to me. Half the family saw me as the villain, and I felt horrible. 2 weeks later, something happened that completely changed my perspective on this whole situation. I was having dinner with my aunt and uncle, and my aunt casually mentioned something about how she hoped Rachel was doing better now that she had the rent money sorted out. I was confused and asked her what she meant, and she and my uncle looked at each other like, oh shit. Turns out my uncle had given Rachel $3,000 for her rent, like a week before my parents asked me for the money. My aunt explained that Rachel had called them crying, saying she was going to lose her apartment, and they had transferred her the money immediately because they didn't want her to end up on the street. I sat there, processing this information, and basically my brain exploded. My parents had lied to me. Rachel never needed my money. They already had the problem solved thanks to my aunt and uncle. And yet they demanded I give them my college money, kicked me out when I refused, and made me feel like the worst brother in the world. What did they want my money for then? Just to help with their own expenses? It didn't make sense, and I felt betrayed on a completely new level. I asked my aunt for Rachel's number, which I had never had because we basically didn't talk, and I called her that same night. When she answered, she sounded surprised to hear from me, and I asked her directly if she knew that my parents had asked me for money for her rent. There was a long silence, and then she said, "Wait, what? What are you talking about?" I told her the whole story, about how they demanded $2,500 from me, how they kicked me out, everything. And she started crying on the phone. Rachel explained that, yes, she had had problems with rent, but that Uncle Gregory had already helped her, and she never asked our parents for anything because she knew they were in financial trouble. She had no idea that they had asked me for money in her name. In fact, she told me something that left me cold, that our parents had called her like 2 weeks ago asking her to lend them money because they were behind on the mortgage payment. She had told them she couldn't because she could barely afford her own expenses, and apparently my parents got really angry with her and accused her of being selfish after everything they had done for her. Basically, our parents had lied to both of us. They told Rachel I was a horrible brother who didn't want to help her, and that's why they had kicked me out. And they told me Rachel was an ingrate who didn't appreciate the sacrifice I would make for her. They used both of us as pawns in their financial desperation and manipulated the situation to make us look bad to each other. Rachel told me that when she saw my Facebook post, she thought I was exaggerating and being dramatic, but that now she understood it was all true. That call lasted like 3 hours. We talked about everything, about how we were raised, about the favoritism, about the lies, about everything. Rachel apologized to me for how she treated me when we were younger, admitted she was a horrible sister and that she never defended me when she should have. She explained that our parents always put her on a pedestal, and that gave her a distorted perspective on things, but that since she moved out and started living on her own, she had started seeing things differently. She told me that when she found out they had kicked me out for the Facebook post, she thought maybe I was being a bit dramatic, but that deep down our parents were probably right, that she didn't question their version of the story because she never did. I told her about all the years they made me feel invisible, about the times she humiliated me and our parents laughed, about how I always had to work for everything while she was given everything. And she started remembering things she had blocked out or rationalized, like the time my parents bought her a new iPhone and told me to wait until her old one was available, or when they paid for her high school graduation party with a DJ, and everything but for mine, we just had a family dinner. It was like we were both seeing our childhood with new eyes and finally understanding each other. Rachel told me she was going to confront our parents, and I told her it probably wasn't worth it. that they were never going to admit they did anything wrong. But she was determined. She told me I deserved to know the truth about all of this, that it was time someone told them their behavior was unacceptable. I honestly had no hope that anything would change, but I appreciated the gesture. A week later, Rachel called me again. She had gone to our parents' house and had a horrible conversation with them. She asked them directly why they asked me for money for her rent when Uncle Gregory had already helped her, and according to Rachel, my dad got super defensive and said that was borrowed money they had to pay back and that I should have contributed as part of the family. My mom said they didn't owe me any explanation and that it was typical of me to be poisoning Rachel against them. Rachel told them that she herself had talked to me and had discovered all the lies, and that she was tired of being used as an excuse to manipulate the family. Apparently, my dad yelled at her that if she was taking my side, she could go with her ungrateful brother and forget about having parents. My mom started crying, saying we were both a disappointment and that everything they had done for us had been in vain. Rachel told them she wouldn't talk to them again until they admitted what they did and apologized to me, and she left the house. My parents sent her messages for days, saying she was a traitor, that I had brainwashed her, that she was making a terrible mistake. By the time college started at the end of August, Rachel and I were talking almost every day. We were getting to know each other as adults for the first time and discovering that we actually liked each other. She drove to the university to help me move into the dorm, and it was weird but nice to have her there supporting me. My aunt and uncle also went. They helped me with furniture and took me shopping for things for the room. My aunt cried when they left. She hugged me and told me she was proud of me, that I had worked so hard for this, and that I deserved it. My parents didn't show up. Obviously. They didn't call me, didn't send a message, nothing. I tried to add them on Facebook from my new account after deleting the old one, but my dad blocked me. My mom accepted me, but never interacts with anything I post. It's like I don't exist to them, which hurts, but is also a relief in a way, because I don't have to deal with their drama and constant manipulation anymore. The craziest thing about all of this is that Rachel ended up cutting off contact with them completely. She hasn't talked to my parents since that confrontation in September, blocked their numbers and everything. She told me she finally realized that our parents' love was always conditional, that they only loved her when she met their expectations and made them look good. She says it was liberating to finally see the toxic dynamic for what it was and walk away from it. Like a month ago, my uncle told me that my parents finally had to sell the house because they couldn't keep paying the mortgage. They moved to a smaller apartment, and my dad got a regular job again. The business basically dissolved. Part of me feels sorry for them, I'm not going to lie, but another part feels like this is a consequence of their own decisions, and it's not my problem to solve. Rachel is coming to visit me on campus in a couple of weeks. We're going to spend the day together, maybe go to the movies or something, normal things that siblings do. It's strange to be building this relationship from scratch at 18 and 22, but it also feels good to have someone from my blood family who really understands and supports me. My aunt and uncle are still amazing. They call me twice a week to see how I'm doing with classes and send me care packages every so often. College is good, by the way. My grades are good, I made some friends, I'm in a debate club that I like. I work part-time at the campus cafeteria to have extra money. And although it's tiring to study and work at the same time, at least I know that everything I have is because I got it myself. No one can take that away from me. And I guess in the end, that's what's most important, right? That I learned to stand on my own 2 feet, and that I found the people who really value me. I don't know if someday my parents are going to realize the damage they caused or if they're going to want to fix things. Honestly, I don't expect anything from them anymore. If someday they contact me and really apologize and admit what they did, maybe we can have some kind of relationship in the future, but I'm not going to hold out hope. Right now, I'm focusing on my future, on my education, and on the relationships that do matter. Rachel sent me a message yesterday that said, "I'm proud of you, little bro," and that meant more to me than anything my parents could have said. So yeah, I guess that's my story. It still hurts sometimes. I'm not going to lie, but I'm okay. I'm going to be okay.